Do you like Facebook? Me neither. But of course, we have to use it if we want to spread any kind of idea or have any kind of communication with our families. Well, here's the thing. You know how social media has this kind of gray area written but not written expectation of freedom of speech because social media sites are platforms, so you are entitled to a level of freedom of speech. And there's always that argument between, hate speech, where does it end, and what is free speech, what is not free speech, etc. Well, Facebook has finally found a way around that. They are filing to redefine themselves as a publisher. Now, this is very important because if Facebook is no longer a social media site, but a publisher, that means they have editorial control. Meaning they can decide what goes on the site and what doesn't. Now that's very important because before you had a certain expectation of freedom of speech, but you do not have one when it comes to a publisher. No publisher, by law, is obligated to publish anything you write or anything you say, which is kind of different in a gray area with a social media platform. So I think you can kind of see where this is going. Now, there's one drawback here. There's kind of the safe harbor clause, where you're not responsible for or you're not legally responsible for what it is that people post on your service. Well, you see, you are if you're a publisher because you own the content because you published it. And that's the whole point. It would be going through, theoretically, an editorial process. Now, here's the fun part. Facebook is still filing to get that safe harbor protection while literally being the opposite of what requires a safe harbor protection. In other words, they want their cake and eat it too. They want to be able to own the posts that people make in order to have full control over them, but at the same time not be responsible for those posts that they are claiming ownership and control over. So you can kind of see the complete hypocrisy here. They're trying to have their cake and eat it too. This is a form of censorship. Now, what's very interesting about this is that it's a very legalized way of carrying out censorship. No more, if this process finishes, this process is only beginning. It's not enacted yet. Facebook will no longer be a social media site. It will be a publisher, which you don't have a freedom of speech on anymore. And they can shut down anything they want for any reason. Now, a proper society would sit down and figure out what is hate speech and what is not. What is defined as free speech, what is not defined as free speech. Or you could skip all of that and just have a dictatorial control over people's speech rather than investigating and trying to figure out what is not, or using some kind of scientific method. Or you could just say we can ban anything for anything we want for any reason and not have to give one. Like Microsoft banning my Skype account. Anyway, sorry, aside from that, this is going to be a very interesting time coming up in the future. And there are some very big questions about what is and what is not free speech that's going to be determined in the future. Now, it's not 100% written in stone exactly what rights you have when it comes to a social media platform, but it is kind of written in stone what your rights are when it comes to a publisher. And that's going to be the big difference here, and this is going to set a standard. This is going to be the experiment that the rest of the social media world is going to be watching and following once it's been decided. Of course, Facebook, being the multi-billion-dollar giant that it is, has the capacity to fight this in court and set that standard. The question is, what are the courts going to allow them to do? Because this is going to set precedent for every social media company and every social media policy that comes after this. I just want to make another point that I forgot to make in the video. The reason they're doing this is because there is such ambiguity in speech. Is it right to criticize one thing and not right to criticize another? What constitutes a legitimate criticism? And what constitutes harassment or hate speech? Can you criticize, say, the use of spaces that are intended for one sex only? Can you criticize it from the basis of merely the Bible? Can you criticize it from a statistical analysis of events that take place? Where's the line? What is legitimate criticism and what isn't? Because that's not defined, there is always an argument over what is allowed and what's not. And then it becomes people putting social pressure on whatever organization for allowing whatever person to say whatever it is that they said. Or you can avoid that whole mess and just simply have some kind of pseudo-editorial process where technically you would be liable for what was said, but you would have total control over what was being said. But that completely goes against the entire idea of what a social media platform is. That while Facebook may declare itself to be a publisher, it literally won't operate that way. It'll operate as a social media platform. How do you editorialize the tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of posts that are made on the site every single day? There isn't enough manpower to do that. You just couldn't. You couldn't have enough people sitting around to check every single post before it's posted. It can't be done. They barely have the manpower to check things that get flagged as it is. So how is it going to be X when it operates as Y? That's another important question that's going to be decided with this process that Facebook is trying to go through. Thank you for watching. If you like this program, then please head over to my Patreon page and set up a monthly donation. It's your donations that keep this program running. Also, if you would like, please rate, comment, subscribe, and share in various social media.